Alright, you new tube nerds. I've tried my absolute best on getting a good angle here because this is one of those things where I'm trying to shoot and record high and low and everywhere in between. So anyway, been a while since I made a video, but I wanted to go through a couple of things. First off, new pedal board, which I am going to add to the thumbnail there. But this brand is called Ghostfire, and they're relatively semi-popular. It seems like they're more popular on Amazon than anywhere else, but you can get them on Guitar Center too. Anyway, I wanted to go through a couple different things as far as pedal board placements, placement of pedals, and also talk about wah pedals again. All right, because so far I've used a wah pedal in just about every solo that I've played. And one thing I can tell you is that I want to provide like a myth buster right off the bat here. Is that I've heard people talk about wah pedals and people kind of be hiding behind them. And for you guys that are either on that side of the fence, I can tell you one thing is that you're not hiding anything behind a wah pedal. The whole point of a wah pedal is to accentuate certain frequencies, whether they're high or low, whether it's within a riff or a solo or any generalized lead part. And I also want to go through, are wahs still relevant? And what are some of the options that are really solid, like best recommendations I can make if you're playing metal, or at least like, we'll say hard rock, even though that's a very broad term, but hard rock is still relevant. So the biggest thing here is that for starters, right, when it comes to a pedal board layout, tuner is always first, okay? From there, you can decide if you want to have an OD pedal after that, or a modulation effect or delay effect, whatever after that tuner. It doesn't really matter. It's completely personal preference. From there, I usually throw in the wah pedal or pedals. In this case, I actually have two on my board. I have the discontinued Morley skeleton wah, which was actually DJ Ashba's signature wah. I don't know if it still is nowadays, or if he's moved on to something else, but I can tell you it's a fantastic wah pedal, especially for heavy rock and metal genres. It's got a very wide sweep compared to the Crybaby style wahs. Next in line, I actually picked up a 95Q wah, which is a Dunlop Crybaby style wah, and it's an auto return similar to the style of the Morley wah, so it's switchless, which is what I prefer myself. Anyway, with the 95Q wah, you got adjustable volume, you got a gain boost, and you've got an adjustable Q setting dial. So, why would you want two wahs, or why would you want one over the other? Really, it comes down to a couple different things, right? Hi. Hi. What's up, good boy? It comes down to two things, okay? First, do you want the Crybaby style in terms of, do you want a really wide sweep, or do you want something that still gives you a sweep, but you don't have to put in as much effort, meaning it's a shorter tread, right? So if you're one of those people that plays a lot of fast leads and really shreds, more so than the common guitarist, then a shorter sweep makes more sense because it doesn't require as much effort, right? Versus the Morley wah, if you're only using it to accentuate certain frequencies and you've got enough time within the scope of whatever you're playing, then a wide sweep makes perfect sense because it's easier to get to the tones, the different tones, the different frequencies of that wah quicker and more accurately. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna go straight to high gain. I don't want to kind of show the differences between the two wahs and provide a series of when is it acceptable to have a wah, just overall, right? All right, so I got the clean tone, I'm in drop, not clean tone, I got the straight gain tone, I'm in drop C. This is my LTD M1 MH1000 with the Evertune bridge. And we're just gonna go back and forth. The white is the Morley skeleton wah, black one, Crybaby 95Q. I have the Q setting here at about halfway. All right. Right off the bat, you can probably tell that the Crybaby has a little more high screech to it. And that's not necessarily bad, because the good thing about this particular wah is you can dial back the volume, but it also cuts through a little better. So if you're in a band, let's say, and you have, you know, more than one guitarist, let's say you have 2 or 3 guitars, whatever. The 95Q is going to cut through a mix during a lead or during pretty much anything you play with the wah pedal better, more so than something like the morley that doesn't have any adjustments. Okay, so really, and let me give you an idea on a little more of a modern use for a wah pedal instead of just playing leads. I'm starting with the morley. I'm gonna start with this riff. Okay, so we're starting with that. Right? Same riff. So really it comes down to which style of wah is good for different things as a whole, right? If you want to accentuate certain frequencies within a riff, you probably want something that has a wider travel, a wider frequency use, such as a morley. But for accentuating leads, especially fast leads, solos, you're actually better off with the 95Q or something similar. Again, I'm a huge fan of switchless wahs. I can't stand the switch wahs. I mean, I ended up buying one of the brand new Zach Wild wahs just a couple of weeks ago. And I was messing around with it. I was going to make a video comparing this, that, the third. And that switch was just driving me nuts. I couldn't do it. I just like, nope, don't want it. Send it back. And I'll get the 95Q. And the other wah I ended up trying, which, by the way, is extremely overhyped, is the new 2020 series Morley Bad Horsey. Okay, I kind of test drove that for about a week. I was going to make a video on that as well, and I hated everything about it. It was like I had the sharp frequencies of the 95Q, and then the off, right? So off, sharp frequencies, and then nothing in between. It was kind of a joke to me. I couldn't believe how overhyped it was. I still like Morley. I still like they make great wah pedals. If you're looking for a really solid Morley pedal, the lead wah boost would be my first choice if I couldn't find the skeleton wah. I was going to buy it, but I already have a Morley pedal, so I kind of wanted a different flavor for different things. But anyway, so that's something I kind of wanted to throw out there, is that although the Zach Wild wah sounded great, you know, nice low throaty sound, the switch was driving me crazy. And the Bad Horsey, way overhyped. So, you know, if it came down between like a bad horsey, whatever one, whether it's the 1, 2, or the 2020 series, that or using a switched wah, like the Zach Wild wah, I would go for the Zach Wild wah all day, any day. Anyway, so let me throw out a couple more leads here, and we'll see what we see what we can kind of define in different wah areas. Okay, so obviously I don't know how it's going to sound on video, but the wider range of sweep on the morley is definitely a little more controllable, and only in certain notes, right? Is it going to sound better than the 95Q? But the 95Q has that real sharp, you know, top end, high end sizzle that the morley just can't quite reach. You know, if I go toe all the way down on both, let's just pick something, right? Let's do, yeah, okay. Right? So that was toe all the way down. I'll do it one more time before I use the crybaby. So it's just that little extra with the crybaby. So I think, you know, in my personal preference here is that if I'm doing low playing leads, like, you know, lower frequencies, you know, lower on the neck, I'd probably my plan is to mainly use the crybaby, the 95Q, but for rhythm or higher leads, that's when the morley kind of shines. So you kind of have that 95Q in between, right? So imagine, you know, you think of like morley, right? Morley, and then anywhere in between here, you know, is where the 95Q wah comes into play. And that's when it really shines, it really starts sounding better. Okay? You know, I'll even add a little bit of delay, you know, turn that feedback down a little. So morley is also smoother, right? So you've got an overall like smoother sound. Might be because it's a potentiometer without the potentiometer compared to a crybaby. But they both have their uses and really good uses. If you want to talk about versatility, I'd still say the morley has a little more. But again, you know, if you're talking about wah pedals being, you know, obsolete or no longer good for metal, think again, because as a whole, you can do a lot of extra tweaks to your sound with a wah pedal, and it doesn't have to be solos. It doesn't have to only be leads. You know, there's plenty of different things you can hope that kind of clears things up. Now, as far as moving off from the wah pedals, I was talking about the Ghostfire pedal board here. Something to keep in mind is that although this is a larger pedal board, it's larger by about 8 inches in width and about 3 inches top to bottom. It's actually made out of fiberglass. So it's a lot lighter than the one that I was using, which was aluminum. And it seems to be just as sturdy as the aluminum one, less weight. So I've got more space for more pedals. And even with adding the extra wah pedal on the board, it still feels about the same weight. Maybe a few ounces heavier just because of the wah pedal. But anyway, I definitely recommend Ghostfire. Check them out if you're looking for a new pedal board with a nice quality carrying case. Really, and they're reasonably priced too. They're reasonably priced. I mean, this one in particular was probably about 70 bucks. You know, I would have been fine with paying, 75, 80 if needed. But anyway, something to think about. Aside from that, we've been pretty busy with the band. Our bassist, who is in the Air Force, ended up leaving the country. He got stationed over in South Korea. So we are in the process of trying out new bass players. And again, this is for the band Fuel Heavy in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're all original, and I don't know if any of you have already checked it out or not, but we do have some music on the website. We do also have a YouTube channel. I think I uploaded a few videos from the last show, and there might be a video or two from the previous show as well. So something to check out. FuelHeavy.com or Fuel Heavy Band on YouTube. And let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment either here or even at the band's YouTube. And, if you guys have suggestions, lay them down. Lay them down. And I will also be picking up a new guitar probably within the next couple of weeks. I won't tell you what it is, but I will tell you that it's either going to be another LTD or it's going to be one of the newer Schecter models. So I actually haven't decided. What do you guys think? My plan is to get the next guitar is going to have a Floyd Rose 1000 or 1500 series. Got to have active pickups. And although I prefer the pointy headstock, I'm more or less indifferent about the Schecter standard headstock. The S curve. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. If you guys have recommendations for maybe something that I haven't considered, because right now I'm only considering either Schecter or LTD. If there's another model or another brand that has everything that I want and is also lightweight, let me know. Throw down a recommendation, and I'll be more than happy to take a look. All right, guys, take it easy.